Good afternoon, everyone. Wow, I am so excited to see everybody here. You never know on a bright, sunny afternoon in Providence if anybody's going to hit the join call button. And it's so wonderful to see so many people whom I know and also a lot of new faces. It's nice to see Randy, you from the West Coast, I presume, although your background may fool us. If you haven't already indicated where you're tuning in from, please put that in the chat. We'd love to be able to welcome you. I'm going to move us along fairly quickly, but I do want to ask my hallmark question, which is, for how many of you is this your first Nelson Center event? Raise your hand. You can raise it virtually or not virtually. Wow, there are several of you for whom this is your first Nelson Center event. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and I hope this isn't your last Nelson Center event. I hope you'll feel welcome at any of our events. I will put in a brief plug. Over graduation weekend, we have our annual commencement reception and startup fair, 4 to 6 at the Nelson Center on Saturday. And you can just come, or maybe Tori will share a link to where to sign up. And you're welcome to come to anything the Nelson Center does. I think we feel, I think evidenced by so many wonderful faces I see who've been involved with the Nelson Center and its precursors. I see Charlie here, so wonderful to see you, and others. You're part of the Nelson family now, having been here even just once, whether you want to or not. And so we'll be happy to keep you in the loop on what's going on. This is one of my absolute favorite events of the gazillion events we hold every year. It's such a wonderful way to, first of all, thank Barrett for all that he's done through the years, and we should give him a very robust round of applause, and you can do that however you'd like. Barrett's here, and he's going to say a few words at the end of the call, and also pay tribute to the few people who initiated this whole idea of honoring our best mentors. That started with Steven Siegel and Charlie Kroll. Again, I see Charlie here. I can't scan the whole crowd, but maybe Steven's here. Sometimes he is. You contributed some funding initially, and you, most important, I think, made sure that we do thank our most engaged mentors, because we couldn't do anywhere near what we're doing with all the many people who are contributing in all sorts of ways. And others who've contributed through the years: Michael Alfont, Peter Damon, Jeffrey Weiss, Chuck Boisseau. Many people have contributed this tradition that Stephen and Charlie started. We have some past winners. I see Don. I don't want to be remiss and miss people who I should be acknowledging, but at least among the people I can easily scan, thank you for the past winners to be here. And even if you haven't been a Hazeltine Mentorship Award winner, virtually everybody on this call, except for the people for whom this is their first time, deserves some thank yous. Because I always say, when you look at me, you're looking at now 20% of our full-time staff. And you could imagine we couldn't do anywhere near what we're doing without the engagement and contributions of so many wonderful people like you. We now have over 700, mostly alumni, and some also parents and friends of the Nelson Center engaged in all sorts of ways, including mentorship. So thank you for all that you're doing. I see some of our faculty members here, Jason and Thano, and my colleagues, of course, Katie and Tori, and Sheila. So, and I think Jonas is here as well. So anyway, thank you so much for everybody's contributions in all the ways in which you contribute. I'm going to move us along real quickly to the first recipient. And it's my absolute pleasure to introduce Liz Hamburg, who is a long time contributor to the Nelson Center in ways that are hard to count. Liz, I guess it's fair to say, has been involved in the pursuit of entrepreneurship at Brown, first as a student, and then as one of the founding board members. I was one of them too, by the way, of the precursor to the Nelson Center Brown EP, the entrepreneurship program, which many of you were involved with. I see Jonathan Speed here, who I know Randy Haken himself always contributed to those early days as well. And so it's amazing that we haven't awarded you the Hazeltine Mentorship Award yet, because you've been involved with Entrepreneurship at Brown formally as much as anybody could possibly. And what we're going to do is we're going to ask Jessica Kim to say a few words as evidence of how long you've been involved and the inspiration you've had to Jessica and some others. And then we're going to play a short video. We'll award you the award, and then we'll give you a toast. So Jessica, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Danny. I'm so excited to be here. I'm actually at a conference right now, and I'm speaking in 20 minutes, so I'm sorry I have to leave shortly after, but I would not give up this opportunity to share the amazing impact that Liz has had on me and this whole community. I might even get emotional a bit because Liz is one of the most influential people that shaped my entrepreneurial journey from the very beginning. And so back in 1999, so 25 years ago, I entered the very first business pitch competition because of Professor Hazeltine. And I ended up being one of the winners. Liz was one of the judges, and she ended up becoming one of our first angel investors of our company and in my life as an entrepreneur. We shared some time of our office space, and I just remember just going in, plopping at her desk, being so overwhelmed and venting and sharing and just soaking up all of her advice. And I totally looked up to her. And at that time, I was only 20 years old. And so I had no idea then what a big influence that truly was in my life. You know, as I reflect now, decades later, and realize how far we've come in seeing the progress of female founders and funders represented in the startup space. You know, she was truly one of the earliest role models that truly, you know, paved the way for so many of us. And as we all know on this call, you know, representation matters. It's really true when people say, you know, it's really hard for people to envision what they can do for themselves if they don't see someone that looks like them succeeding. And for me, from the very beginning, I saw Liz as a successful founder, a successful CEO, an investor, and she modeled what was possible, which really shaped my vision and perspective decades ago. And so I never questioned if I could do anything. And I know it's because I saw it early on through Liz. She was always on the cutting edge of technology and industry, is always pushing things forward. She's doing that now. And in the midst of doing it all, she's always, you know, carrying and lifting up everyone around her. And so, Liz, I am so proud and grateful to know you. Your influence in my life is just one of the many, many, many examples of the way you've impacted this whole community. You give us constructive feedback. You're not afraid to do so. So we really, you know, reflect on what the pitfalls could be. You always give us encouragement, especially when we need it most. And even in the last few years, like I see that you come with heart and care, because you deeply understand the ups and downs of what it means to be a founder. And most recently, as I lost my father over the summer, and now we're both in the care space, which is so meaningful, I'll never forget how you show up for me, because you know that impacts our own personal lives as well. And so you are amazing. I am so grateful that you're getting this award. This Hazeltine Award is beyond well-deserved. And so on behalf of everyone that you've impacted and the future people that you will impact, I just want to thank you for all that you've done.
Thank you so much. I know I'm not supposed to talk until the next moment, but I just want to thank you. That was incredibly meaningful. And I will say, Jessica, that this is still hanging in my kitchen. I don't know if you can see this, but this is when Jessica started her business. It was a baked goods business called Jessica's Wonders. I'm still trying to get her to make those amazing brownies, but this has stayed with me, I guess now for 20 something years. So it's still holding up. And I love that our friendship now and entrepreneurship path and journey have stood up to the test of time.
Yeah, really means so much.
Thank you.
I love that. Thank you, Jessica. I should add just real quickly as we're teeing up the video of somebody else that you both are also now entrepreneurship faculty members. Jessica has joined the faculty at the Nelson Center teaching the 5th course in the sequence of the entrepreneurship certificate, the practicum. And Liz just told me that she's also going to be teaching entrepreneurship. So we are spreading the influence of Brown entrepreneurship far and wide, and that's a wonderful thing as well. So let's see, Tori, you're teeing up the video.
Hi, my name's Trang. I'm class of 2018. I wanted to make this video to congratulate Liz on the Hazeltine Mentorship Prize. I first met Liz through the We at Brown program, where she mentored me on Penta, the nonprofit that I started while I was a student at Brown. We repurposed medical devices for amputees in developing countries. Liz was so helpful in chatting with us about how to incorporate as a 501c3 nonprofit, about third-party shipping logistics, and she was so generous with her time and network. It's because of mentors like Liz that Penta is now still going strong, and now we're in over 10 countries. So I wanted to say congratulations again on the Hazeltine Mentorship Prize. Thank you for all you do and your support of the Brown entrepreneurship community.
That's so nice.
Yeah, we thought it was,
really
I mean, there were
lovely.
so many, I think I said this to you, Liz, when I saw you in New York, there were so many people who we could have asked. We could have spent the entire time online and many more with people sharing their accolades for you. We thought it would be appropriate to have somebody from the early days, early-ish days, and some more recent. By the way, Trang is one of those people that everybody likes to say was their mentee. There's like a long list of them, but we know the real mentor was you. It was wonderful to have her share what she did. And yes, Liz Malone, who we're happy to have here, reminds us that Trang and Penta, they were the very first winners, grand prize winners of the first Brown Venture Prize in 2017. So that's a nice thing to think of too. So I think what we're going to do is have you, Liz, if you'd like to say anything else. You don't have to add anything in particular. You said some very nice things about Jessica. If there's any reflections generally, whatever you'd like to add.
Well, I would like to add, because I'm so moved actually by seeing so many familiar faces here. I see my brother online too, who's a Brown alum from LA. So thank you for joining in. And you'd mentioned that I was an entrepreneur at Brown, and I actually wasn't an entrepreneur at Brown. I was in fact a political science and East Asian studies major, and I wasn't particularly interested in business. I did take Engine 9. And I still remember studying the Benihana case and hearing so many amazing guest lecturers, which really made an impact. And then years later, I was actually working for a Japanese company, and we ended up doing a project with Benihana, with Rocky Aoki, the founder of Benihana, and meeting him. And I kept thinking back to my Engine 9 class there. But I will say that Brown has been such an important part of my entrepreneurial journey. And my network of Brown alums and faculty has really been one of the greatest gifts in my life. I found business partners, I found investors, advisors, lifelong friends. And along the way, I've really had the great privilege of mentoring so many students. And Danny, I don't remember, I think it was before even Nelson Center. I remember so vividly being in a room and doing office hours with the team from Zio. I don't know if you remember that. It was
Of
one of the
course.
very
Yes, I do. The
early
sleep technology.
alarm clocks. And I will still say, I still use the Zio alarm clock. They were so far ahead of their time. They were doing sleep monitoring before the Apple Watch, before the iPhone and all the apps. They were way, way ahead of their time. And unfortunately, they went out of business. It's a great, example of a company that was in the right space at the wrong time, but just a really super idea. And, there have been so many entrepreneurs like that who've gone on for great success. Rajiv Kumar won one of the first competitions, again, pre-Nelson, but he ended up selling his company to Virgin and went on to be incredibly successful and is now, I'm happy and proud to say, an investor in Kendu and my company as well. And so, you know, I just want to give a huge thank to everyone who spoke, but also to the entire entrepreneurial community at Brown, and particularly to Dean Hazeltine. It's so very, very moving for me to be here and get this within his presence and to see the influence that he's had both on me and on so many people's lives. And I will say that Barrett, your energy continues to astound me. I've guest lectured in your class, and I still remember the first time I did it. I taught 3 sections in a row. I think I stood up and guest lectured for about 3 hours. And I made the mistake of driving instead of taking the train home. And I literally had to pull over on the side of the road because I was so exhausted that I was afraid I was going to fall asleep. So I don't know how you do it every single day and then ride your bicycle home. And you're just really remarkable. And I'm so proud to be part of this community. And it's a great honor and gift for me. And I thank you guys so much.
Well, we're so glad to be able to do that. A long time coming, very well deserved. Can I ask you to hold up the award, the bobblehead, the Barrett
Yes,
bobblehead?
this is what arrived in the mail, and I love it. And I think it really embodies the spirit and the energy of Barrett and the entire team at the Nelson Center and with entrepreneurship at Brown.
So I'll tell you what, Tori, can you make sure you've got a screenshot of that? You've got it. And now maybe we'll unspotlight Liz and we'll ask everybody who has a glass with them to raise it. And we'll take a screenshot of everybody while we can. Tori will give us the nod when that's done. So here's to Liz for all the incredible work that she's done for so long without asking for anything in return. And we're so happy to be able to honor her this afternoon. Tori, you're good?
Thank you.
Okay. I'm now going to turn the floor over for our second presentation to honor Bob Place. And I'm going to ask Ben and Cecile to take it away to introduce Bob and say a few things about the impact that he's had on them and the group that they're part of.
Absolutely. And thank you. And it's an honor to be here honoring Bob today. And my name is Ben. I'm a senior at Brown, and I'm part of Van Wickle Ventures, the student-run venture fund here at Brown, along with Cecile. We are both the current co-directors, and it's our great honor to be honoring Bob, who has made our entire Van Wickle Ventures journey possible. I joined VWV as a freshman in late 2020, and it's changed everything for me. I'm a graduating senior now, and I'll be working in the VC space next year. And I'm now one of dozens of students who have gone through the VWV pipeline, many of whom are now working in the venture space. And though he never asks for any sort of credit or recognition, Bob is the person who's made that all possible. And his passion for giving back and for helping us students, especially when it comes to learning about entrepreneurship and venture capital investing, is beyond inspiring. So back in 2018, Bob proactively approached Jonas Clark from the Nelson Center with the idea of helping to start a student-run venture fund at Brown. The goal was to help students learn more about entrepreneurship in a different way by experiencing the other side of the table, and basically by equipping students to start investing in Brown-affiliated startups. Jonas then connected Bob with 2 other students, Sophie Stark and John Diorio, who had previously happened to pitch the idea of starting a student-run venture fund, and the rest is history. Bob and his wife Erna generously donated the first startup capital for VWV, $150K in startup funds to invest in Brown-affiliated companies, and since then they've continued to serve as the financial backbone of VWV, leading both of the subsequent fundraising campaigns that we've had in the past few years. But Bob's support for VWV goes way beyond initial vision and the financial support. Over the past 6 years, Bob's provided us VWV members with amazing hands-on guidance and teaching on essentially a weekly basis. He's been the constant figure on our investment committee since our first investment committee in 2019, and we truly learn something new from him every time we meet. All of our members look up to Bob as a mentor, and though he's not my professor, and as far as I know, not compensated by the school in any way, I've learned more, or at least as much from Bob as I've learned from anybody else here at Brown. Cecile?
Yeah, would love to add on to that. Super honored to be here. My name is Cecile. I'm a senior at Brown and co-directing Van Winkle Ventures with Ben. And just want to reiterate what Ben has already said. Bob has always been such a steadfast mentor and supporter for all members in VWV. When I joined VWV as an analyst 2 years ago, Bob was always an intelligent and thoughtful voice on our investment committee, always challenging us to refine our analysis and think critically about investments. And when I stepped into the co-director role last year, I was even more struck by the level of passion and dedication and thoughtfulness that Bob puts into every conversation that we have with him. Ben and I have very fond memories of sitting down with Bob last spring to put together our second fundraising challenge, when Bob just continuously encouraged us to start thinking intelligently about the economics of our fund, how to pitch our ideas and vision, how to work with the university and the Nelson Center, basically just how to be a great fund manager and also how to be even better leaders. And beyond fundraising, it was with Bob's support that we've grown our team from 5 students in the very beginning in 2019 to 25 students in the fund today. And Bob has also encouraged us to always reach more students than those already in the club. And so for 2 years in a row, we ran a widely successful group independent study teaching students about early stage investing, all under Bob's guidance and input. And finally, Bob is really the glue that holds our organization together, guiding each generation of co-directors through our leadership positions. And what Bob's teaches us to think about VWV is not as a transient student club that we experience for 3 or 4 years of our lives in college, but as a lasting organization that has accomplished a lot and will go on to accomplish even more in the future. So Bob, thank you so much for everything that you've taught me and Ben, our students, and our organization as a whole. VWV would not be where we are today without your continued support, and each conversation with you is so inspiring and invigorating. And I hope to one day emulate your passion and spirit of giving back.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Cecile.
Yeah, we'll ask Bob if you'd like to say a few words.
Yeah, if I could. I think that I appreciate being given this award. Barrett, you have been an inspiration for generations of students, including myself. And I think your continued involvement. You are the professor for the GIST that Ben and Cecile are running currently for BWV. And it's your continued involvement that has really garnered the entrepreneurial spirit within Brown over many, many years. And I think it's wonderful to continue to see your involvement and support from the students of Brown. I have to say that I started working with Jonas and with Danny 10 plus years ago, back before the the Nelson Center was even built. And Jason Harries joined this gathering, and back when B Lab was its early days, and I got to work with him for many, many years on with the students and with various enterprises they were trying to create and build. I've also worked with Brian Demers over at the Office of Technology, trying to work with faculty members on commercializing research and trying to bring it into fruition. And then probably most importantly, it's been with Jace, Jonas, and Danny's help to try to create a concept that Sophie and John ran with, which was to create this Van Winkle Ventures and to try to have a student-run and managed venture capital fund where they taught themselves all the precursors for what makes a successful venture investment, and to then implement that over the last 5, now 6 years. And I think with 9 investments, about the 10th now just occurring, they've been successful, and I think it's been a real tribute to the students' efforts that that BWV has grown and nurtured and brought about hopefully some career aspirations for many of these students. I think it's been wonderful to see how they've gotten involved, and also how this has become an area of joy for them and education for them. So I just want to give thanks to all of you, because at the end of the day, it's you, the students, who make this work. We help to provide perhaps some guidance, but it's your impetus, your self-learning, your willingness to take that extra time and effort to unknot a thorny problem and address it, that has been, I think, the true success of a student-run organization of Van Wickle. My hats off to you, the students, and what you've done with yourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. I think the way I can, I hope, encapsulate my gratitude to you is to say that you were an entrepreneur when you approached me and Jonas, because you saw a problem, an opportunity, you wanted to solve it, you put your own money towards solving it, and more than your money. And the reason you're getting this award is that you've been diligently involved from day one in helping to steward the whole process, to make sure that it was moving along in the way that you had envisioned. A vision that I'm not sure Jonas or I really understood at first, because we thought, well, we know kind of what an entrepreneurship center that we're building should be. Hadn't really thought about the concept of there being a learning process for students on the other side, the investing side. I travel all over, I speak all over the world, and I speak, I think enthusiastically, as I should, about all the Nelson Center and what it represents. Often the item that raises people's eyebrows is the Van Wickle Ventures Student-Run Venture Fund. They are surprised that there's such a thing, that students could be in the process of contributing to that side of the equation. And once I explain it, that it came from you and where it's come to, as Cecile mentioned, its own scaling process, what it's accomplished, people get it. But I appreciate your having initiated that discussion with us, been persistent with us, and your continued generosity. The match, by the way, I hope it's okay. This isn't a solicitation intended, but I'll just say you challenged our community to match what you, Internet, had put on the table a few months ago, and we're still looking to close that match. So if people on the call or others are interested in contributing to this really wonderful initiative, we would love to hear from you. But most of all, I want to ask people to raise their glasses and to thank Bob for all that he has done, all that he continues to do, all that I hope you will continue to do on into the future, regarding a number of hats you wear at Brown, but in particular, the Van Wickle Ventures hat, because we couldn't do it without you, and really appreciate all that you're contributing. So please, and if you could, well, let's do that first. And then, yes, if you could hold up your bobblehead, that would be great. I think if you, maybe put it in front of your face, and that'll work. Yeah, there you go. So thank you so much, Bob, for all you're doing. And I understand you're going to be on campus even tomorrow, so we'll look for you.
Great. Look forward to it. Thank you.
And then let's see, Tori, do you want us to do anything else right now?
Yes, I'm gonna if I can take a group picture of Liz, Barrett, and Bob, and then I'll take a full group picture. So just give us 1 minute to do that.
And then we're going to ask Barrett to say a couple things.
All right, I'm gonna take it, and let's take a few. Ready? 3, 2, 1. And then I'm gonna take a group one. So everybody in 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Okay, Barrett, we'd love to hear a couple words from you. I know you know Bob and Liz well, and you know all the people who spoke. Let's face it, you know everybody at Brown, so for generations. So we'd love to hear what's on your mind.
Well, the first thing is almost everything I could think of has been said. And obviously want to thank Bob and Liz for what they're doing, for their continued support and what they're doing now. And the effect on the students has just been remarkable. And I just would like to comment that there was a time, believe it or not, when all this looked very fragile and didn't look like it was going to happen. And it really was because of the strength and inspiration of Liz and Bob that it really came to fruition. That a few encouraging words and some very wise advice from both Bob and Liz really set the tone of the Nelson Center. And for that, I would just like to thank them very much, and Godspeed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barrett. Well, you've been a real inspiration, and as you've heard from so many people, you've influenced so many lives. And as I said, I wasn't a business person at Brown. I wasn't interested, frankly, and you're one of the reasons why I got into it. And my Brown community has been probably the most influential community, more so than my business school, and more so than even my entrepreneurial colleagues. It's been really one of the foundations of my entrepreneurial experience. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
So I will say that normally we would just close the event, and maybe that's what happens. But I recall, maybe Don Stanford recalls this, you received the award, I think, for the very first time that we awarded it on Zoom. And it was such a social event that we decided nobody wanted to get off. And so we just left it open. I think for 45 minutes, people were schmoozing and chatting and connecting, which is not an easy thing to facilitate through Zoom, but it worked really well. So what I'm going to suggest, unless Tori clobbers me for suggesting it, is that we do that. We stick around for as long as anybody wants to stay. You don't have to stay. And if everybody wants to just run outside and get some sunlight, that's fine too. But we'll just leave it open a little bit. And if people want to say hello to Barrett or Bob or Liz, that's cool. And I will end by saying, remember, the Nelson Center is your campus home for everybody who's here. Please take us seriously about that. I hope you will come to our Saturday of commencement weekend event, 4 to 6. Anytime you want to stop by, there's a startup fair and a reception. Tori, is there anything else you'd like me to include? Okay. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Danny.
Thank you, Barrett.